Welcome to episode number 168 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on YouTube on December 15, 2016. A lot of stuff to get through, as we do every week. The stories this week include breaking fake news, Yahoo's rolling disclosures, Google's problematic SERPs, emojis, Santa School, Wonder Woman's disinvitation, anti-troll bots, and a lot more. We started off with the worst, and BL has the honors. BL, what was the worst story of the week?
Well, I am really aghast at this one, and it's a very controversial issue. Google has refused to alter the top search result for "Did the Holocaust Happen?", which happens to be from a neo-Nazi group called Stormfront, and their link tops "Did the Holocaust Happen?", saying that it did not. And Google says that they're not going to change that. And unfortunately, what happened was when a lot of people put out good news to fill out the bad, which is how you should really handle this. Danny Sullivan pointed out that the way that you get rid of any bad news, and we were talking about that before the show, is you put out lots of other news. The problem is that there are an awful lot of trolls who are part of, and bots who are part of the neo-Nazi and white supremacist movement. And so they put out bad content to flood out the good content, and all reputable news media put out, this is not true. And this leads to a tweet from KKK leader and Trump supporter David Duke, who said, "Oy vey, call the ADL." And, in reply to Fortune, in reply to Jeff John Roberts at Fortune, Google said, "The company does not intend to do anything to change the search results. We're saddened to see that hate organizations still exist. The fact that hate sites appear in search results does not mean that Google endorses these views." Well, of course they don't. And according to them, a site's ranking is determined by computer algorithms that use hundreds of different factors to calculate relevance to a query. And he went on to say, "We don't remove content from our search results except in very limited cases, such as illegal content, malware, and violations of our webmaster guidelines." But then again, what happens when an uneducated person or a Trump supporter trying to look up facts and gets sucked into an online forum with conspiracy theories? So in Gizmodo, Eve Pizer said, "Since Google seems cool with altering its search results to benefit the company, surely it can demote the ranking of a hateful website that promotes lies." And she was referring to an FTC investigation published in 2015 by the Wall Street Journal, which revealed that, I think you talked about this, that Google manipulated search results to favor its own services over those of its rivals. So even when they weren't the most relevant ones. So unfortunately, it's a thorny issue.
Yeah, it is a thorny issue, and I don't know that I kind of agree with Google's stance that they shouldn't delete the search results. It is true that they alter the search results to favor their own content, but that's like content from YouTube and stuff like that. But there's a way to deal with it, and actually, that's it is creating better and more content to drown out the inaccurate content, but it also takes behavior by us searchers to promote that content in a sense. So this is an article from Business Insider that has to deal with that in part by Hannah Roberts. And it talks about Google's algorithm unintentionally rewarding fake news. So Google's algorithm was changed in this past year to favor click-through rates as a ranking signal for search results. So how visibility in social channels prompt searching. If you think about it, if you see a fake news story in your Facebook feed, you may believe that story, or you may have doubts about it, but you'll probably turn to search to investigate the veracity of the story. So you're searching, you find a fake news story in the search results and you click on the link, and if you spend a significant time reading that click, that behavior while you're on the article, the time you spend reading the article, are signals to Google about the quality or the popularity or the relevance to the search query you entered for a piece of content. If you're a conspiracy-minded person, you probably do follow-up searches and click on more fake news sites that reflect your belief in that conspiracy. Spend significant time reading that, so you're sending more signals to Google that that's the content that's relevant to that particular search. If you're not savvy in the ways of fake news, but still aren't convinced about the veracity of the story, you may click on more fake news stories to try and discover the truth, and thereby boosting the signals that Google uses to rank its content. In both cases, people are creating those signals. Google introduced its machine learning algorithm called RankBrain in June of this year, and that may be a culprit in boosting fake news. RankBrain is the third most important variable in Google's ranking algorithm. The change was intended to help Google make more intelligent guesses about the 15% of new daily search queries that Google hasn't come across before. But this ideologically driven fake news consumption is certainly a new behavior. It came along with this past election season. So Google kind of got tricked, I think. They don't have as big of a problem as Facebook with fake news. They've got better technology to deal with it. They've got a knowledge graph. It's a database of facts that they can use it to fact check content. They understand language, so Google can understand language that indicates a citation of supporting evidence, like according to, or so somebody said, or news organization reports that reliable news sources use to support their stories. So they have the ability to verify those citations, but also our behavior. So, call the ALDS, the Anti-Defamation League. That's good advice, actually. The Anti-Defamation League should write the definitive piece on the Holocaust and why it's not a hoax, and optimize it for those searches, and then all of us should go there and click on it and read it and
Well,
spend
this is
time with it.
not actually a new problem. I mean, this has been the way that search has put us into our little bubble. You'll get different results on the same search as I will based on what we each do and who we follow. And it's a
That's true.
big problem, and it's an ongoing problem. And fake news has just basically made it worse. But speaking about making things worse. Twitter, our president-elect had a meeting with the titans of tech yesterday, and he left out Jack Dorsey, the co-founder of Twitter, because they had a feud during the election, and Twitter refused to have a Crooked Hillary emoji. So he wasn't welcome at the table with all the tech titans, all of whom looked like their underwear was too tight or something sitting at that table. I mean, I never saw a more miserable looking bunch of people in my life. But yeah, Dorsey wasn't there, but you have lots of news about emojis today, and I think we should move right to that.
No, let's save it for the best. I got one more worst.
Okay, I got another one too.
Yeah, this just well, Yahoo is in the news again, and they're not in the news because they're pending deal with Verizon. They're in the news for what you might imagine they're in the news for: bad news. This is a Fortune article by Jeff John Roberts, a guy with 3 first names. Yahoo announced the discovery of massive hacking incident that affected 1 billion
Including
user
me.
accounts, and probably me. I mean, I imagine it's the biggest such breach in history, bigger than the hack of 500,000 Yahoo accounts from 2014, which the company disclosed in September. But this most recent breach they've announced actually occurred in 2013. Hackers
Oh,
obtained
really?
personal 2013. Hackers obtained personal information, but not credit card details. The things that they got were names, email addresses, telephone numbers, dates of birth, hashed passwords, and in some cases, encrypted and unencrypted security questions and answers. To which you must ask, WTF, Yahoo? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I got an email. I don't use Yahoo. I apparently have an email there. I haven't looked at it or logged into it in years. So I'm not really worried about what's in Yahoo, but a lot of people use it pretty exclusively. And, we're about to turn the page to 2017. I mean, that's outrageous. That is
I use
seriously outrageous.
I use Yahoo for Flickr, so I guess I should log in and see if I've got an email from Yahoo.
Oh, mine actually came to me in Gmail, which is interesting.
Okay.
I wondered about that. So there was a Dropbox had a bit of a Twitter storm directed toward it because of a diversity brouhaha. They posted a photo from their staff Christmas party, and it had in it 5 white people and 1 Asian woman, and the headline was "Diversity at Dropbox." So the link had a it led to their diversity report, which shows that they're 2% Black and 5% Hispanic. So this led to the inevitable pushback and the apology explanation from Dropbox, who said they're working on improving their diversity. It continues to be a top priority. Like, does nobody think before they push that tweet button? I mean, it's just...
Yeah, some headline, some training in headline writing might be in order.
or restraint in not doing it at all would be good too. I mean, there's I've been working on a post about when you should shut up. When you should just not talk.
Yeah.
Does that bring us to good news? Or you have more bad news?
I'm done with the bad news. Thankfully.
Well, I have been learning about how Santa does his marketing, and finding these sites was a lot like finding Geppetto's workshop, And it started with The Week in an article by Mary Meehan, and she was writing about School for Santas, and it's owned by this guy Tim Conahan, who's also known as the Hollywood Santa. And he's a total master at selling himself as the model Santa whose success could be copied by anybody who's willing to invest some time and money in him. So these high-level Santas, I mean, this is sort of tempting, high-level Santas and Mrs. Claus type people can make $10,000 a season in an upscale mall. And since the season goes from after Thanksgiving till Christmas, that's not a bad piece of change. But of course, you have to know how. So this past July, more than 800 Santa impersonators and Mrs. Clauses and some assorted elves gathered in Missouri, and they were swapping tips on beard care and learning how to take their Santa gigs to the next level. And apparently it's a big trend in Santas that you should have a natural beard, unless of course you're Mrs. Claus, in which case a beard would not be a good idea. But so they all have like white hair. Some of them look like schoolyard child molesters, and the rest of them really look kind of jolly. It helps to be overweight and to have like a really nicely trimmed beard. And you have
60
to
plus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're all 60 plus and a little overweight, and that's all a good thing. And some of them come looking for love. This lady in the video that I'll share said she wanted to find her very own Santa, and she said she was getting hit on just all the time. And so there's 42 workshops that help you with this. Some are like really basic, like a more comfortable hat for Santa, and there's makeup tutorials. But some are like Santa and special needs children and Santa ethics, but most of them focus on the ins and outs of performing, finding and keeping clients, pro-level Santa career business, and this is my favorite, marketing your Santa services and your website, and Santa schedule organization and planning. And the average age is 62 and a half, and they had more than 800 of them from all over the United States, and they meet with all these different vendors, and they talk about makeup and marketing and websites and North Pole workshop sets, because you have to have one of those. And but it's great, but it doesn't come cheap. It'll cost you. And if you want to change careers or get a lucrative sideline, Santa Camp 2017 is gearing up now.
And they market themselves on LinkedIn. They all have LinkedIn profiles as a Santa character with their photos look like Santa.
They all do, and there's all different kind of Santa outfits. Like some wear long robes, and the ones from Texas wear wear big cowboy hats, and it's just a hoot.
And the Mall of America this year hired the first Black Santa. The first Black Santa was ever hired at a mall was hired for the Mall of America, and we did some social listening around that, and it was a blast because the keywords that were coming up were delightful, beyond words. So people were very happy that finally there was a Black Santa.
Oh,
So,
I'm glad to hear that. I
yeah,
really am.
yeah. So mine, going on, it's fake news again, but there was anonymous. I don't know who created this, but somebody created a illustration of a decent breakdown of all things real and fake news. And we'll share this in the blog post on beyondsocialmediashow.com/168. But it has a breakdown basically of sites that are fake news, that are peddling ideologically driven, made up news, both on the left and the right. Sites that are hyper partisan, that lean left or right, and sites that are conservative or skew liberal. So skew conservatives is Fox News, skew liberal is Huffington Post, MSNBC. In the don't read column is like InfoWars and Breitbart and natural news and addicting info on the left side. So it has a good breakdown of if you don't know these sites and you want to know what's fake and what's not. This is good
Where'd you find
illustration
that,
to
Dave?
show. It was on Imager, but
Not
yeah,
a fake news site.
no, not a fake news site. It does. I'm familiar with most of these sites, so I can verify. I can vouch for its veracity. But yeah, it doesn't have an author, so I don't know who created this, but that's great.
So there was a Twitter moment this week. I had talked about when the United Nations had appointed Wonder Woman, the cartoon character, as a special ambassador to women and girls. And this didn't go over too well with an awful lot of people. And so there was like a lot of public protest on choosing a fictional character instead of a human. And it started out with a big feature with Linda Carter and Gal Gadot, who both were the Wonder Woman in the big screen and the small screen. But then a petition concerned United Nations staff members was signed by 45,000 people that said Wonder Woman was created 75 years ago. Although the original creators may have intended Wonder Woman to represent a strong and independent warrior woman with a feminist message, the reality is the character's current iteration is that of a large-breasted white woman of impossible proportions, scantily clad in a shimmery, thigh-bearing bodysuit with an American flag motif and high-heeled boots, the epitome of a pinup girl. This is the character the United Nations. This sounds like Church Lady on Saturday Night Live. This is the character the United Nations has decided to represent a globally important issue, that of gender equality, blah, blah, blah. And at a time when issues such as gender parity in senior roles and the prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse of women and girls is top in the UN's agenda, including the He for She campaign. This appointment is more than surprising. It's alarming, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they fired her.
Hating on Wonder Woman. I prefer to think of Wonder Woman as the feminist origins and everything. And there's a simple solution. You don't have to fire Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman can still be the ambassador. Just use the imagery from the original comic book of Wonder Woman.
Well, so then Liam Sharp tweeted, anybody up for starting the reinstate Wonder Woman as a UN ambassador petition? And somebody else said, people complained about Wonder Woman being a UN ambassador because she's curvy instead of her being, I don't know, fictional. And then my favorite one, I'm off to fight evil. See you later. Not dressed like that, young lady. What will people think?
That's good.
Yeah, I felt like Church Lady reading that.
So more fake news, and this we have to talk about because it's breaking fake news. Facebook. This is from a Business Insider article by Alex Heath. Facebook announced today that it's going to start fact checking, labeling, and burying fake news and hoaxes in the news feed.
With
Facebook is
humans, or is this an algorithm?
with humans. Facebook is
Humans.
partnering. Well, it's a combination. It's a tag team. Facebook is partnering with Snopes, FactCheck.org, ABC News, and PolitiFact, and they're part of an international fact-checking network led by the nonprofit Pointer, which has developed a fact-checking code of ethics to which 42 news organizations have committed. But these 4 partners will get access to a tool that will enable them to label stories in the newsfeed as fake. But Facebook will start that as a test with a small percentage of users in the US to make it easier for those users to report news stories that are fake or misleading. That appears to be the surfacing mechanism that will then pass along those sites to the fact checkers. Once third-party fact checkers have confirmed the story is fake, they will be labeled as such and demoted in the news feed. Facebook will also use other signals that indicate whether a story that appears to be fake is going viral to determine if they should label the story as fake and bury it in people's feeds. A team of Facebook researchers will also review website domains and send sites that appear to be fake or spoofed to third-party fact checkers. Facebook news organizations or spoofed domains will also not be able to sell ads on the social network. But the big question I want to ask is, will they be able to buy ads on Facebook?
Of
Because
course they will.
that's the dark post thing. That's where, I mean, what happened in this past election is people were buying dark posts and promoting these fake news stories to audiences that were most likely to pay attention to them and create the social signals that made them go viral organically. So is Facebook going to stop that aspect of it?
Well, this comes 1 week exactly after Sheryl Sandberg on the Today Show said, we can't be monitoring fake news. And, we didn't influence the election. And, it's crazy to think of Facebook as a media organization. So apparently 1 week later, they've owned up to the reality that they are, in fact, a media organization, and they better get in gear to behave like a responsible one. I think that's great news.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still don't own up to being a media organization.
Call it what you want.
Zuckerberg said, we're not a media organization, but we're a new type of organization that has a certain amount of responsibility. So they're not claiming to be a media.
Great. Call it George. Who
whatever.
cares? Just do your job.
Yep.
So, go ahead. You want to do yours next?
No, go ahead.
So, the issue of fake news and of hatred is definitely showing its ugly face all over the place. And this is from a Vice story by Madison Margolin. And what happened was that a Jewish journalist who was harassed on Twitter built a bot that trolls the trolls who are anti-Semitic. So he said there's one and a particular type of anti-Semitic troll that I find particularly pernicious. The racists who use their accounts, this is incredible, to impersonate Jews and then defame them. The con goes, the troll finds a picture of a very Jewish-looking person online, typically a Hasidic Jew in full regalia, and makes that his avatar. Then he puts a bunch of very Jewish descriptors in his bio: Orthodox, Zionist, enemy of the alt-right. And he then proceeds to insert himself into conversations with prominent Twitter users that will be read by tens of thousands of followers and say horrifically racist things. Thus, it appears to unsuspecting readers that Jews are outlandishly bigoted. And the same thing's being done to other minorities, from Latinos to Latin Americans to Muslims. So it's actually pretty easy to identify these trolls if you know how to look. So their tweets are indistinguishable from alt-right racism. They regularly retweet the alt-right and other anti-Semites, but if one reverse image searches their avatar, you can often find out where it was stolen from.
All right.
So they wanted to make sure that their bot didn't catch any innocence by accident. And so they manually update the database of trolls, and what they have is called Imposter Buster. And so they want to make sure that they know who to go after. It's crowdsourced. It includes anti-Semitic trolls as well as other kinds of racists and even leftist impersonators, such as people pretending to be Bernie Sanders supporters. So it's called Imposter Buster. And it says on the profile of Imposter Buster, have you encountered a racist troll impersonating a Jew, African American, Latino, or Muslim on Twitter? Send it over and I'll get on the case.
Wow.
Yeah, so that, beating bots with bots, it's a great idea, but wow, what a lot of work.
A lot of work, and it sounds like the bot arms race.
Yeah, really sad
Well,
times.
happier news. More emojis, and these aren't the kind that will get you banned from a meeting with the president-elect. But Apple has
Skin.
Trumpelstiltskin.
That's what
Ample.
Kara Swisher called
I
him
saw
yesterday.
that. Apple introduced the shrug emoji. This is from a NextWeb article by Napier Lopez. And so the new iOS update came with an essential emoji, and that's the shruggy. It's the, how did we live life without the shruggy emoji? I don't know, because I'm going to use it all the time. But other new emojis include drooling face.
When would one use that?
I can probably figure out some ways to use it.
Oh, do share.
rolling on raffle, rolling on the floor with laughter, face palm emoji, pancakes emoji, and bacon emoji.
Oh, we
Needed
had to
that
have a
one.
bacon emoji. I have to have
Absolutely.
that. Bacon's good with everything.
Exactly. And a Prince emoji, but not that Prince, which would have been awesome. This is a generic male royalty Prince, white Prince, so not the rock star musician Prince. But there is a rock star emoji. This is from an NextWeb article by Brian Clark. So Apple has a new singer emoji with the new update that looks suspiciously like a certain glam rock musician, what with the hair and the lightning bolt face paint, reminiscent of a certain Ziggy Stardust, perhaps, or Starman, perhaps. Appropriate enough, given David Bowie's gender-bending persona, you can get both the male and the female version of the emoji. Just type female singer or male singer, and you'll be able to use the David Bowie emoji. And finally, in emoji news this week, CNN has an article by Alana Petrov about a global translation firm in London that is hiring what it says will be the world's first official emoji translator.
I need one of those to sit next to me.
The job opening was posted 2 weeks ago, and it's already attracted 100 applicants from around the globe. Today Translations is the firm behind the posting. They need a specialist to help it decode how emojis translate across cultures, languages, and generations. So, for example, Westerners will use an emoji to demonstrate they're laughing so hard they're crying, but Middle Easterners see that as depicting grief. So there are cultural differences in emojis.
Well, I'm sure there would be. There's cultural differences in just
Right.
about anything. So one of the sites that I turn to when I'm bored, which isn't often, I have to admit, but is Bored Panda. And there is a Photoshop graphic designer whose name is Mikhail Krothhammer, and he made images. He made images of the Queen with Donald Trump's face. So here comes the Queen, and it's the Queen's hats and Trump's face and all his funny expressions in her, clothes. And he said it's not about politics; it's about the magic of Photoshop and making you laugh. Well, we were certainly laughing looking at those. Oh my God, what a hoot! We'll put some of them on the show notes. So another one
On social media show.com/168.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's another wonderful thing that's come up, and this has nothing to do with Donald Trump because this has to do with something I like, which are shelter dogs. And this is from Fresh Pet, and it's what they did was they put together a holiday feast for deserving pets, and every time somebody watches the video, they donate a meal to a shelter, and when I looked yesterday, they donated over 2 million meals, and you can view it at freshpet.com. And last year, their video was Dogs and Cats as Santa's Elves, and it was viewed 1.2 million times, and they donated 1.2 million meals to shelter pets. And these are elaborately, extensively staged with human hands wrapping gifts last year for the elves. And here it's like humans feeding the dogs who are eating out of bowls. It's very funny.
That's cute.
It is adorable. They do one every year, which is really cute. So where does that bring us?
I am out of good stuff.
Okay, so that brings us to shiny objects.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, this one's called Quick, and it's for iPhone and Android. And what it does is it takes a bunch of your video footage. It identifies the best moments automatically. It sets the whole thing to what they call mood appropriate music, and then it adds sort of a professional touch to your recordings that you're going to put on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. And it's kind of fun. It's free for your phone. And
Very
I took
cool.
a course this week in iPhone videography. I took a workshop at the Apple Store, and it just happened I was the only person there. So,
nice.
yeah, that was great. I got an hour-long, really interesting stuff the camera in the phone can do. So now I want to try this app and see what it does.
Very cool. BL, how cold is it there in New York?
Freaking freezing. It's something like 20 degrees.
So it's been for the past week, or not week, past almost a week, it's been in the highs in the single digits here in Minnesota. God. Brutally cold. It's been about as cold as, I guess, 3 years. In 3 years it was that cold. But I'm happy that I have found something that will alleviate at least my feet from freezing up in this brutal cold temperature, and that is Bluetooth heated insoles. This is from a Verge article by Ashley Carman. So there's a European company called Plus T that wants to bring heated insoles into the future by turning them into Internet of Things devices.
How much?
The company's launched a Kickstarter for its Plus Winter heated insoles. Plus Winter is the name of the heated insoles. They're wirelessly charged. They pair with an app over Bluetooth and set a temperature and monitor battery life. They have an accelerator built in, so they turn on whenever the wearer starts walking. They should last about 5 hours. They're water resistant and purportedly won't light on fire, but that probably remains to be seen. That doesn't track activity, which is the second thing I want aside from heating my feet, but a pair start at $98.
And how long do they last?
Good question. I don't know. But
because this past weekend I went to Costco and I bought their hand warmers that, they come in a package of 2, and you shake them and they get hot, and they stay hot for if you leave them in your gloves, they stay hot. They have them for your feet, and they go on, your little toes.
I use those for football, both of those, the hand warmers. I buy them by the box.
That's what I did.
Hand warmers and the insoles. Yep.
but I haven't found the gloves that really do the job. I have my feet covered. I wear sheepskin insoles, and those really make a difference.
Yeah, these ones though, this Kickstarter thing, if they lasted, and I don't know whether I won't know until I try them. But what I really want it to track my activity because I want to see how I run my routes in football, or what my feet patterns are when I play quarterback. So it'll help me improve my game.
I don't like that it starts when you start walking, because my issue is I take the dog to the park and then I stand around a lot, sometimes on snow and ice. So I need them working all the time. I hope you can regulate that. So the other thing I found was
you just
Boomerang.
have to be antsy.
Yeah, right. Just jump around. This is an Instagram spin-off called Boomerang, and it takes a burst of still photos and then it stitches them together in a short looping video. And then what you get is sort of in between a GIF and a stop motion movie, and it's fun to play with, and it's again free, and it's for iTunes and Android.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It takes a little getting used to getting it to work the right way. I tried to use it with a friend of mine throwing a football at me It took about 3 tries to get it right, but it's pretty fun to play with. Speaking of Instagram, Instagram is rolling out Instagram Live video for everyone. You'll find it in the Instagram stories. If you go into the stories camera mode, you tap the live button and record. They're not stored. They're the ephemeral, Snapchatty, not video, not recorded, but they're probably recorded somewhere on Instagram's servers. And also, Twitter mobile iOS update for the app now includes native live streaming features. So it's powered by Periscope technology. It will notify your followers when you're broadcasting live. So when you open up a tweet now in the iOS app in Twitter, you now have the option of going live directly from the tweet. Finally, my last cool thing is the Great American Word Mapper.
What's
I'll have
that?
the link to this in the show notes, but this is from Quartz, and it is a tool you can use to compare and contrast where various words are popular across the United States. So you can do like Coke in soda or pop in soda and see which regions are more popular. It uses data from Twitter, and what people are the language people are using, keywords people are using on Twitter. So it's fun to play around with.
That's a good thing. And Twitter's a good place to do it because you have so few characters to make your post in that if you're using a word, it's really a keyword. I like
Right.
that a lot.
Yeah. We're on to projects, right?
Oh, yeah, and you have a good
I
one. I
do have a
love
good one.
this.
So I came across a blog post from FeedSpot listing the top 100 PR and marketing blogs, of which my agency's Kowalski Encourages Success at Creative PR blog is included. So I was very happy to be included in that. But
Well, you should be, Dave. It's a terrific blog, and everybody should be subscribing to it because it really is full of very good information. And it's done in a very palatable format. I like the way you do it,
cool.
too.
Cool. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we work hard at it, so good. Let's wrap this up then. Daily numbers. We talked about fake news, so let's wrap it up with fake news. 25% of Americans admit to sharing fake news. That's from Pew Research. Majority of fake news has left Americans confused about basic facts. This is the percentage of U.S. adults who say completely made-up news has caused them to be confused about basic facts of current events. 64% says it's a great deal of confusion. 24% there's some confusion, and 11% are not confused at all. But
Because they don't
also
care.
because they don't pay attention to the news.
Yeah.
1 in 4 Americans report sharing fabricated news, whether they're aware of it at the time or not. So this is the percentage of U.S. adults who say they've shared a political news story online they later found out was made up. That's 16%. Or shared a political news story online they knew at the time was made up. That's 14%. Did either or both of these? 23%. So there you go. Fake news. Pew always does great research. So
Pew does do great research, and once again, we have some great resources for vetting news sources, and we should publish those again since we talked so much about fake news tonight. So we are on our last show of 2016, and goodbye 2016, screw you. But
right.
the worst year ever. But we will be back on January 5th. We're going to take a little breather and celebrate the holidays. So we want to thank you for watching episode 168 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And you'll find links to everything we talked about and the video, which will be time stamped so that you can jump to any segment by clicking on a time. And that will be at beyondsocialmediashow.com/168. And when you get there, you can leave us a review by clicking on the beyondsocialmediashow.com/love. So you will find David Erickson, my charming co-host, at on Twitter he's at D Erickson, and he blogs at estrategyblog.com and creativepr.com/blog, the award-winning. And I'm BL Ochman. On Twitter, I am at What's Next. My blog is What's Next Blog. I also blog at pawfun.com, and I run a company called Maximum-Plus, which is for all things to do with video interviews and streaming media. And you'll find the show at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. And on Twitter, we're at BS Media Show. And we are on YouTube, Beyond Social Media Show. And we're on Facebook. And we're here again in 2 weeks. And we wish you all the happiest of holidays and good time with your families and some rest and relaxation. And we'll see you back here in 2017.
Yes. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. See you next
Yeah.
year.
See you then.